Welcome. My name is Henning Piezunka. I'm an assistant professor at INSEAD in the entrepreneurship department. Today, with us, Randy Komisar, senior partner at Kleiner Perkins. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me, Henning.
Every time you read about this, right, oh, somebody spent like his or her summer basically, and now she's like a multimillionaire, that kind of makes everyone question him or herself, why am I not an entrepreneur? Can you say a little bit about this kind of, do you feel this is a fair assessment? Because when it's kind of these enormous successes, right, the Googles and so on of the world, the Nests of the world, they're very kind of, they're pulling me into entrepreneurship, right? It seems such a no-brainer to do.
I think the media is doing an injustice to entrepreneurship. I think the media is encouraging young people to set off on their own and build their own businesses when, frankly, they don't have the inclination or the character to do that. I think particularly in the Bay Area today, we see a lot of media around the big successes without acknowledgement of the fact that the vast majority of startups will fail. And what we've seen, particularly in the last decade, when with the onslaught of digital investments in both the enterprise and consumer space, that very little capital will allow you to get a proof of concept to market. That's a lot different than it was 20 years ago. So in the last 10 years, we've seen angels and others putting small amounts of money, $1 million or less, into entrepreneurs, having them spend 2 or 3 years gestating an idea, and then getting into marketplace only to see it fail. And we are seeing the top of this funnel expand greatly, but the bottom of the funnel in terms of flow is probably not much bigger than it was a decade ago. So that means that there's a lot of roadkill, of death along the way for most of these startups. And I think this is doing a disservice to young people who could be learning more in good jobs in other companies, could be developing skills that will last them a lifetime and create a career, and instead wasting their time trying to be entrepreneurs when they really don't have the ideas or the personality to succeed. It's changed a lot. You know, even though I've been at Kleiner Perkins only 12 years, I've been in the industry for some 30 years. So, and I've been very, very close to venture capital as part of that. And venture capital's, it was essential all the time to the startup world. And so I had strong relationships, even with Kleiner Perkins, going back into the early 90s. In those days, there were a few blue chip venture capital firms who could really make a difference in the trajectory of your business. Investments were smaller, they were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. You could own 20, 30% of a business for that, and the huge successes could create gigantic returns to funds that earned you the right to do it again and again and again. That's changed a lot, I think, since about the middle of the 2000s, when we saw, first of all, a much lower cost barrier to getting products to market. So entrepreneurs needed less money. We saw more sources for that because particularly in some place like the San Francisco Bay Area, we saw more young people who had made a great deal of money in the startup world, reinvesting that money as angels. Or we saw small groups of new players with small funds enter the world. They could raise 20, 30, 40, $50 million funds and actually build very successful portfolios. This was a completely new trend in the venture capital world. And what it meant for us was that we needed to add a lot more value in order to create and win the best deals and to innovate and incubate the best entrepreneurs, because we had to bring a lot more than capital to the table. So it became a process of investment in our own abilities to bring value. It also meant that the way that we looked at deals changed. 20 years ago, it was very common for venture capital to take pre-product risk. It's a lot less common in the digital space to do that because you've got a lot of angels and others who will take that pre-product risk. And given how big the top of the funnel is and how few companies succeed, it actually works to our benefit to have them take that risk and for us to get in and cherry pick the best and the biggest disruptors early on and then grow them to institutional size.
Thank you so much. This was a truly great pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for inviting me. INSEAD is a fantastic experience. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And thanks for this discussion.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.